Hello, Lions fans, and welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. Well, as you can see, my friends, I'm obviously in another different location than where I was in my last video that was in this kind of format. Again, being in the situation that I'm in, trying to find quiet spaces to be able to record and everything else, it's a bit of a chore. So for this particular one, I had to kind of walk around quite a bit, try and find a quiet place where I could record and do this, where I didn't have any interfering noises, other people around being rude, whatever have you. And this was the first place I could find. But unfortunately, that's the situation, so I'm trying my best to keep up here. Now, to answer a question that was in my comment section, no, I'm not currently in jail. And I know the background definitely kind of gives that thought process, but I'm not in jail. I'm currently on TDY assignment for the Army. I'm located right now in Virginia. I'm not going to say specifically where, just so that way I don't get anybody in trouble, but that's currently what I'm doing. But having explained all that, let's get into the content here. For today's content, what we're going to talk about is why I think the Detroit Lions are not only the best team, but they're the most uniquely adapted and built team to beat, the problem that a lot of NFL fans are probably feeling when it comes to what's going on in the NFL. And what am I specifically talking about here? What I'm talking about is what I would call a sheer domination by one team, and if I'm really realistically being honest, one player. Let me take you guys back for a moment. Let's set the scene here, put some context on this. Everybody here has been able to see and watch, freaking Tom Brady in the past play. Tom Brady played for a freaking hella long time. And most of us have had the chance to watch him both when he was a Patriot and as a Buccaneer. And obviously we know that Tom Brady currently is the best quarterback of all time. He is the GOAT. When you go to 10 Super Bowls and you win 7 of them, you're the GOAT. However, though, the whole point of this conversation that we're having is that when Tom Brady was playing, and you go back to the very earliest beginnings of his career success, everybody was happy about the fact that, this kid that had come out of nowhere, he had a very unique kind of, introduction to the NFL. He helped the Patriots, a team that had not really had much success. All of a sudden, they're now Super Bowl winners. And it was like, okay, we've now got somebody new on the scene that has established themselves as being able to, be a prominent player. And I would say for the first, 2, maybe 3 Super Bowls, that was something that a lot of people had as far as Brady and the Patriots. The problem is as everybody knows, is that by the time the Patriots got to that 4th, that 5th, that 6th Super Bowl, people had freaking gotten tired of the fact that Brady and the Patriots were always winning. They wanted somebody else to be the winner of the Super Bowl. They wanted somebody else to be the person that was constantly getting talked about, because it seemed like for the longest time, you could not have a conversation without talking about Patriots or Brady, because they were always the winners. And that was always the standard that you had to go up against. And people just got tired of it. It didn't help also that, Patriot fans were constantly rubbing it in everybody's faces for 2 decades. So that also kind of helped into this. But the point of the matter is that after a while, the shine, the allure of Brady being a first-time winner, second-time winner, whatever, it very, very quickly fell off. The same thing is now happening when we're talking about Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. When we take a look at Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, this is a team that for, I would say easily, over the last decade, has been very, very successful. And I'm talking about Patrick Mahomes, current Patrick Mahomes as well. Because before Patrick Mahomes got there, obviously there was Alex Smith. They were a very successful team as well, but they never got to the Super Bowl with him. Once Mahomes took over, that's when everything changed. And again, when Mahomes won his first Super Bowl, it was great. When he won his second Super Bowl, it was also great. But now we're in this situation where, okay, Patrick Mahomes has already won 3 Super Bowls. Now he's gunning for a 4th Super Bowl and to be the first quarterback and the Chiefs to be the first team to do a three-peat. And I'm telling you this right now. I've talked to several fans around the NFL from different perspectives. Obviously not Chiefs fans because they're not going to care in this conversation. But I've talked to dozens of fans from other perspectives. And I'm already getting the vibe very strongly that what was going on with Tom Brady about how people were tired of him constantly winning, that vibe has now started with Patrick Mahomes as well. Now, I will say this, part of that might not be Patrick Mahomes' fault. That also might be the whole thing with Taylor Swift and Kelsey, and people are tired of that nonsense as well, because whenever Patrick Mahomes wins and wherever there's a home game, obviously Swift is there as well. And almost 50% of the time the game's going on, we're getting shots of Taylor Swift, or after the game, that's all anybody's talking about in the media. And it's just like, dude, we're tired of that nonsense. But regardless of that, the point of the matter is that ever since Patrick Mahomes has been the full-time starter for the Chiefs, which if I recall correctly, I think was 2018, you go back and you take a look at Mahomes' track record. Obviously, the guy's going into the Hall of Fame. He's one of the best that's ever played. For crying out loud, the guy has 3 Super Bowl wins in 4 Super Bowl appearances. He has 6 straight division titles. Every single year he's been a starter, he's won the division. That's damn impressive. He's got 2 NFL MVPs. He's got 2 first-team All-Pros and a second-team All-Pro. And just like he has 6 straight division titles, he has 6 straight Pro Bowl selections. The guy has clearly become the face of the NFL, much kind of like how Tom Brady was the face of the NFL because he was the best player, not like Patrick Mahomes is the best player. So why am I talking about this? Why did I put all this context in front? The reason why is because this title that I'm talking about, where the Lions have a unique weapon and a lethal weapon, is because I believe we have the most perfectly adapted situation to actually beat and stop Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Think about it, folks. Patrick Mahomes is one of those guys that when you beat him, it gets a lot of news because it doesn't normally happen. And when it happens more often than not, that's definitely going to raise people's eyebrows. When you take a look at some of the best quarterbacks that have played over the last, couple of years, and I'm actually going to include Brady in this, even though he's retired. I took a look at some of the best quarterbacks currently in the NFL. And when you take them and you stack them up against, Patrick Mahomes as far as win-loss, it's a very, very telling picture about just how hard it is to stop Patrick Mahomes, to beat him. Joe Burrow has the best record out of all of them in terms of overall wins and also losses. He has a 3-1 record, but outside of that, it's not very particularly pretty. Lamar Jackson has a 1-4 record. Josh Allen has a 3-4 record. Justin Herbert, a 1-5 record. Dak Prescott, 0-1. Tua Tagovailoa, 0-3. Tom Brady even didn't have that great of a record. He was 3-3 against, Patrick Mahomes. And Stafford, 0-1. And obviously this is combining both regular season and postseason. But I'm going to tell you this right now. While only 2 quarterbacks on that list actually had winning records, which was Burrow and Brady, there is one quarterback that not only has a winning record, but has multiple wins and has never lost to Patrick Mahomes. That's Jared Goff. Jared Goff is literally the only quarterback that has ever played Patrick Mahomes that has multiple wins, meaning he's played him more than once, and has not lost to Patrick Mahomes. There is no other quarterback in the NFL that actually has the ability to say that. Not even Joe Burrow, who everybody considers the biggest challenge to Patrick Mahomes. And if you think about it, Jared Goff has a very strong record of his own when it's against some of these top quarterbacks. Now, obviously, he has guys where hey, he's had more losses than wins. But for the majority of it, he actually has a very strong record against a lot of these same quarterbacks. Obviously, like I said, against Mahomes, he's 2-0. Against Stafford, he's 3-1. Against Herbert, he's 1-0. Against Prescott, the quote-unquote official record is 3-3, but us Lions fans know it should be 4-2 without a shadow of a doubt. And then Aaron Rodgers, he is 4-2. So Jared Goff has proven that he has the ability to go toe-to-toe with some of the best quarterbacks in the game, go up against their teams, beat them. So that right there is a big part of this whole equation here, because I already know that people are going to say, well, David, it's not Mahomes versus Goff. I understand that. But the point of the matter is that Goff has to go up against Mahomes' defense. And everybody wants to talk about Spagnuolo's defense, about how it's one of the best in the NFL. Goff has gone up against it twice and won both times. I mean, for crying out loud, you go back to the very first game when he was obviously with the Rams. I think that was on Monday Night Football. The most highest scoring Monday Night Football in the league's history. Jared Goff goes toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes, outduels him. Now, I know that was earlier on in Mahomes' career. He wasn't quite the guy he is right now, obviously. But just last year, we went to freaking Arrowhead Stadium. We went and played the Chiefs in their home turf, and we beat them. And no small part of that was to Goff being consistent, reliable, steady leadership in that very hostile environment. Because again, Arrowhead Stadium, the Chiefs' home stadium, it is one of the most biggest home field advantages in the NFL. Kind of now like Ford Field is. And when you go into an environment like that, it's going to be hard to pull out a victory. But that's exactly what the Lions did. They pulled off the upset against the reigning Super Bowl champions. And it was in prime time. Think about that. Jared Goff, both times he's beaten Patrick Mahomes were primetime games. And these are big primetime games. It's not just like, oh, well, you know what? It's a Thursday night game or something like that. No, we're talking the season opener, and we're talking the most scored points in a Monday Night Football game ever. So, yeah, we're talking some big, high-profile games here. So, for me, that to me is why in my title I say that the Lions and Jared Goff can be the silver bullet of the NFL. Number one, because, well, silver is part of our colors. I mean, for crying out loud, we're Honolulu blue and silver. So go figure, kind of a play on words there. But at the same time, there's been very few teams that have actually been able to get to get one over on Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, Joe Burrow got to the Super Bowl and had to beat Patrick Mahomes to get there. But I'm just going to put it quite plainly. Joe Burrow has been dealing with a lot of big injuries, and my question is, how much longer is he realistically going to play? He's had knee injuries. He's now got a wrist injury that is limiting the flexibility in his hand. For me, I'm just wondering how much longer can he play, and if he does continue to play, how much of a high level is he going to be able to play at? So I'm not really trusting in Burrow at this point. Plus, on top of that, the Bengals are already having problems retaining players. They're having issues with Jamar Chase. They're having issues with T. Higgins. Their roster is looking like it's getting ready to start falling apart. The Lions, on the other hand, their roster is set. It's already good to go. And Goff is entering into his prime. And the Lions look like they're in a perfect situation to now make a run over the next 3, 4, 5 years. And then, on top of that, one thing I always love to point out here is the quarterback comparison between the two themselves. And when you're talking about Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes in terms of their production, it's actually rather peculiar in a really good way that Goff actually measures up really freaking well, statistically for the most part, with Patrick Mahomes. Again, let's take a look at the stats. Ever since Goff got here to Detroit in 2021, Jared Goff has 1,139 completions to 1,714 attempts. His completion percentage rate is at 66.5. He has almost 12,500 passing yards, 79 touchdowns to 28 interceptions with a 96.3 passer rating. Pretty damn good numbers. Top 10, top 5 numbers, no question about it. When you take a look at Patrick Mahomes, 1,292 completions to 1,931 attempts, a 66.9 completion percentage rate, 14,500 yards in essence. He has 106 passing touchdowns to 40 interceptions with a 98.9 passer rating. Pretty much when you take a look at the numbers, Jared Goff is right on point when it comes to the completion percentage. His yards are not that far off. Now, obviously, the biggest difference is the passing touchdowns. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes has a lot more of those, but he also has a lot more interceptions. He has 12 more interceptions than Jared Goff has. but the passer rating is also very equivalent. For a guy that a lot of people want to say is not that good, the fact that he is somewhat on the same page statistically as Patrick Mahomes, and like I said, he's the only quarterback with multiple games against Patrick Mahomes and has not lost, and they're both primetime games. I'm just telling you this right now. Everybody wants to talk about how, the Chiefs are going to possibly, try and go for that three-peat. And everybody's also talking about how the Lions are a strong Super Bowl contender. Wouldn't it be funny if the Lions and the Chiefs meet in the Super Bowl, and at that point, I literally can write the narrative right here, right now. Oh, hey, the Chiefs are going for the three-peat. Lions are trying to win their first Super Bowl ever. But then you get down to the quarterbacks, because it always happens every freaking Super Bowl. Hey, Patrick Mahomes being who he is, but Jared Goff is the only quarterback that has a spotless record against Patrick Mahomes, has won 2 high-profile games against Patrick Mahomes. That right there is going to be a pretty big narrative. And here's the other thing, folks. Jared Goff has proven that he has no problem going into a hostile environment and beating Patrick Mahomes. And we also know Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl, and he's gone up against a pretty damn good team before in the Patriots. So to me, it's like, okay, this is a perfect situation where it's like we can try and put a hampering or a clamp on, if you will, on the freaking Chiefs continuing to dominate the NFL, for Patrick Mahomes to continue to dominate the NFL, which a lot of fans are already getting very, annoyed with, because it almost seems like we're having a Brady 2.0 moment here, and it's like, okay, I understand Patrick Mahomes is great and all, but we want somebody else to win. And why not have the Detroit Lions be the team that everybody has, thrown aside and not even considered for, however many, decades, be the one that takes down, freaking puts a stop to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' dominance? How freaking crazy of a story would that be? But anyway, folks, I know this doesn't have anything particularly to do about the whole Rams game that we just had or the Bucs game that's coming up, but I saw this on Facebook about how, Jared Goff is 2-0 against, Patrick Mahomes over the last 2 games he's played, and also that, how he's 2-0 against Stafford over the last 2 games. And I'm like, you know what? Jared Goff has a unique ability of beating guys in very high-profile football games. What if Jared Goff could be literally the part of that silver bullet to really stop Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to continue to dominate, and at the same time also start the Lions' own dynasty? Because again, like I said, the Lions have a Super Bowl window realistically for the next, 4 or 5 years. So why not? But anyway, folks, I'm going to end this episode, so I'm just going to say thank you all for watching another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these 3 things: like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and you not had a chance to do so, again, I want to highly encourage y'all not only to, 1, subscribe, but again, if you've not done so, please, make sure you turn on that bell notification icon. I also want to encourage y'all to share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can with anybody that you possibly can, especially your Lions friends and family members. And with that being said, everybody, I hope you all have enjoyed the content, whether you're a first-time viewer or you've been a long-time subscriber. And I also hope that everybody's having a great day. You got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. God bless, my friends. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.